Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate ringsidenews.com. Got more of your questions as we get closer to WWE Payback from Chicago. First question today comes from Mark. What do you think of a Lesnar versus Joe feud when Joe is called up? Who would be the babyface and the heel in this situation? I would love to see this match. I think Samoa Joe is one of the few guys that could really be credible against Brock Lesnar and be a truly worthy opponent. Samoa Joe, if booked properly, could be a major badass character just like Brock Lesnar, and it would be like two bulls clashing horns. I think it would be awesome. I definitely feel they both would work a style that would complement each other, and it would just be a great fight. I think that match should definitely happen sooner than later. Bring in Samoa Joe to the main roster and push him to the moon. Have him dominate people. Have him be a top guy and then put him against Brock Lesnar. Now, who would be the babyface and who would be the heel? I think you could have Samoa Joe be the heel in this case because Joe is good at just going out there and kicking ass. And Brock Lesnar is already established. Everybody knows him. They do the Suplex City chants. Samoa Joe has been working out well as a heel in NXT, and I think him coming out and just being a bully and destroying people, and then having Brock Lesnar as the guy that's his own size or bigger than Samoa Joe, confronting Joe and setting up a match at a major pay-per-view. That's how I would do it, at least. Alright, this one comes from Beast Slayer. What do you think of Cesaro competing for the IC Championship? I'm fine with it. I would not mind Cesaro winning the IC title just to give it credibility again. I feel that the title has been devalued over the past year. WWE had this idea of pushing Daniel Bryan as the IC champion and John Cena as the US champion in an effort to elevate those titles. And now it feels like both titles are meaningless again. The IC title, basically just a match at WrestleMania, Zack Ryder winning it and then immediately losing it to The Miz the next night. I'm fine with The Miz being the champion. I feel that he is elevating the title a little bit, and I think him and Maurice have good chemistry as TV characters together. But I would like to see someone like Cesaro win the belt and do what Daniel Bryan was intended to do with the IC title and really elevate it to the next level and make it a main event caliber title, or almost a main event caliber title, rather than just a random match that really serves no purpose on a pay-per-view. And this one comes from Daniel Jobber, and this is regarding the US title. Do you think it may be almost time for Kevin Owens to beat Kalisto for the US title? I feel Kalisto as US champion isn't really doing anything special, and the fact that the US title was essentially a dark match at WrestleMania almost because practically nobody was in the building, I think it's time to go with a new US champion. I think the Lucha Dragons are best being together as a tag team, and that's best for that brand, the Lucha Dragons. I think it's a stronger brand than Sin Cara on his own or Kalisto on his own. And I think Kevin Owens, similar to Cesaro elevating the IC title, Owens could elevate the US title. Alright, this one comes from Brandon. Do you see Kevin Owens winning Money in the Bank and feuding with Sami Zayn until SummerSlam, like Ambrose and Rollins? That's an interesting question, because if Kevin Owens is winning the US title, you know what? I suppose he could win the US title and still win Money in the Bank. I know Miz did that in 2010. If Kevin Owens is being built as the top heel in WWE, and I feel he should be either the first or second top heel in the company, especially if Roman Reigns is not turning, then yeah, that might be a good way to go. Have him win the US title and then have him win Money in the Bank and just build him up as one of the top tier monster heels in the company. I could see Kevin Owens winning Money in the Bank. I think it's too early to make a real solid prediction on that, but Kevin Owens, I think, would be at the top of the list of guys to win Money in the Bank this year, just because I think a heel needs to win it. I think you need to have a really strong heel win Money in the Bank, because right now you have so many more top baby faces than heels, and I think that's the one area where WWE is lacking right now, is when it comes to their top heels. And yeah, I would definitely be a fan of that happening. Not sure if it's going to happen, but I would not be opposed to that happening. Alright, this one comes from Wrestling Section. Hey Aaron, who do you think will most likely win Money in the Bank this year? My money is on either Ambrose or Kevin Owens. I just mentioned Kevin Owens. I think Ambrose would be another solid choice, but again, I would like to see a top heel win. If Ambrose is going to win Money in the Bank, then turn the guy heel and build him up for Roman Reigns or whoever the WWE champion is. You know, if Seth Rollins is back from his injury by then, you could have Rollins win Money in the Bank and do that storyline again. But I think I would prefer somebody fresh to win Money in the Bank, somebody who has never won it before. So yeah, I really think the top two candidates would be Dean Ambrose or Kevin Owens. I would be surprised if anybody else won it, to be fair. I mean, you could have a dark horse contender like Sami Zayn, but you know, the Money in the Bank winner should not be failing to cash it in. And I could see Ambrose or Kevin Owens successfully cashing in Money in the Bank. Even Cesaro might be a guy on that list to win Money in the Bank. But we'll have to see how the storylines progress in the next couple of months before I can really make a solid prediction on that. Alright, this one comes from Scotty C. Hey Aaron, what are your thoughts on a women's Money in the Bank match happening, and would you like to see it happen? I think I would like to see it happen. We did see some different kind of matches at Elimination Chamber last year. We saw an IC title Elimination Chamber match and a tag team Elimination Chamber match. So I would be all for WWE doing either an Elimination Chamber women's match or doing a Money in the Bank women's match. And I think that that would be a way to change things up so you have one for the men and one for the women. I would definitely be a fan of that happening. And I got this one here from I Love Wrestling. Do you see WWE using match stipulations such as Money in the Bank, Hell in the Cell, Elimination Chamber, and maybe a Queen of the Ring tournament? I definitely think the door is open for some of these different matches to happen with the women, now that WWE is trying to build up the women's brand as something equal to the men's brand. I could definitely see something like this happening, whether it's a women's Elimination Chamber match, as I mentioned before, or the Money in the Bank match, or even doing a Queen of the Ring tournament. I like that idea as well. I could absolutely see one of these, or more of these matches happening in the near future, just because it seems like WWE is finally getting serious about elevating the women and giving them a bigger role in the company. And by doing these kind of matches too, it also gets more of the women involved, so it's not just built around a couple of the women, but you have half a dozen of them that aren't getting TV time right now being able to shine on a major pay-per-view. Alright, this one comes from Eduardo. Do you think Natalya has a chance of winning the women's title, and when will Becky Lynch get back in the title spot? I would be surprised if she won the title. My guess is Sasha Banks will still be the person to beat Charlotte for the title, and I think Becky Lynch will continue to be in contendership, but I'm not expecting her to win the title. And like I said, I think that by doing some of these other matches, like the Money in the Bank or the Elimination Chamber, you can get more of the women involved in the title contention. But as far as Natalya having a shot, I mean, anything's possible, but it would surprise me. I see WWE putting the title on one of the new divas, excuse me, I said the D word, one of the new women, rather than putting the title on Natalya, who has been around in WWE for a long time now. She's a veteran. I think WWE wants to go with the young blood and put the title on somebody new, and really I think that's the best way to go. I think it should still be Sasha Banks to win the title from Charlotte. That's just my take on it. Alright, this one comes from Wrestling Guy 18, who is sending me questions with a 17% battery. Yo Aaron, if the Balor Club debuts on the main roster, could we see a female being added to the group? Potentially Becky Lynch because of her past with Finn training before WWE. I think that that would be a good idea, to maybe have a woman involved in a man's stable. And that would also give her something to do. I mean, they could give that role to Paige as well, because they're really doing nothing with Paige at this time. So yeah, you know, in addition to doing these different match types, you can also find ways to get the women involved with the men. And that's what they've been doing with Maryse by bringing her back and having her work with The Miz and be his valet. So yeah, if WWE just thinks outside the box a little bit, you can have the women getting involved with the men and being part of the male storylines, as well as doing their own thing in the women's division. Alright, this one comes from Jake Lewis. How long do you think that the New Day have left as a team? I'd love to see them go for years, but WWE seems to get bored of teams really easily and just decides to break them up prematurely. For some reason they don't value... Okay, you're going on a rant here. This is no DQ&A video. Just ask me a question, with all due respect. How long do I think they have left as a team? I think that they will be a team as long as they're getting good reactions. I don't see a need to break them up right now. And I do not see the need to break them up if there's no real push to have one of them go far as a singles competitor. If Vince or Triple H or somebody thinks that Big E is the next big thing in WWE and they want to give him a monster push, then it would make logical sense to break up the group. But if there's no real plan to elevate any of the three members on their own as single stars, then why break up the group? They're doing so well right now. There's no need to break them up yet. I think it's definitely too soon. Just keep going with it and see what happens with it. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Payback. Submit a question at twitter.com/AaronRift, and I thank you all for your patience as I get through the questions. I try to answer as many as possible. If not on video, I answer them through text. And if you can, try not to submit really long questions where you end up going on a rant. You know, just keep it short and sweet, 140 characters with a really solid question, and try to give me a question that I haven't answered a million times if possible. And try to give me a question that will take me more than one sentence to answer if you want me to answer it on video. So just a few guidelines there, a few tips for getting your questions answered on video. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time.